Hello everyone and welcome to the Ticker.com's news channel on YouTube. On this channel, we review stock markets and discuss financial news, market trends, and economic data from Wall Street to Global Street. So let's dive in. We will begin our review of the global economy with key releases in the US, Europe, China, Japan, and India. Investors turned cautious in the new year and lowered their interest rate cut enthusiasm after a string of economic releases in the U.S. showed a resilient labor market. The number of job openings in November edged down, the number of hires decreased, and the number of separations fell as labor market conditions softened in the month. The number of job openings declined by 62,000 to 8.8 million in November, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported Wednesday. The number of job openings declined to the lowest level since March 2021, fell for the third consecutive month in a row, and decreased from a record high of 12 million in March 2022. A separate report showed that the U.S. economy added jobs at a faster pace in December. The jobless rate held steady, and wages rose at a faster than anticipated pace. Non-farm payrolls expanded by 216,000 in December, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported Friday. Economists polled by Ticker.com estimated payroll expansions of 160,000 after the economy added a downwardly revised 173,000 jobs in November. However, the jobless rate was unchanged at 3.7%. For the year 2023, the U.S. economy added a total of 2.7 million jobs, the smallest increase since 2019, excluding pandemic-impacted 2020, indicating an average monthly increase of 225,000. In Europe, the Eurozone inflation rate accelerated to 2.9% from a year ago in December, Eurostat reported Friday. The inflation picked up from 2.4% in the previous month, when it dropped to a two-year low because of the base effect. Core inflation, which excludes food and energy prices, eased to 3.4% from 3.6%. and dropped to the lowest level since March 2022. Inflation accelerated in Germany and France, largely because of lower energy price base in the previous year were overwhelmed by the sustained increase in food prices. UK home prices rebounded after 7 months of decline as buyers searched for bargains and tackled elevated mortgage rates. The price increase still reflected the home shortages rather than growing demand from buyers. The average home price increased by 1.1% or £3,000 from the previous month to about £287,105. In Asia, the official manufacturing survey in China showed activities contracted for the third month in a row in December. India's preliminary GDP growth for the fiscal year 2024, ending in March, was estimated at a faster than expected rate of 7.3%. In Japan, manufacturing activities downturn worsened in the final month of the year on the weak demand from international and domestic customers. Let us review key events in global bond and commodities market last week. The yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury rebounded to a two-week high of 4.1%, and investors recalibrated rate cut views after the U.S. economy added jobs at a faster than expected pace in December. Gold traded around $2,050 after investors reviewed mixed economic data and soured on the potential rate cut optimism and the dollar weakness in the week. WTI crude oil prices traded near $73 after traders weighed the rising crude oil supply in the U.S. against supply disruptions in Libya and the prospect of a wider war in the Middle East. The TTF natural gas prices in Europe increased 6% to €34 per megawatt hour after a cold spell in northern Europe drove the demand higher. The euro hovered around $1.10, the level last seen in July, and investors digested inflation data in the Eurozone, Germany, and France. The yen traded about 144 against the US dollar and fell the most in a week over the last 2 years after investors reduced bets on interest rate declines in the US. We now review developments in financial markets and how markets were impacted by the latest economic data. The S&P 500 index and the Nasdaq Composite halted their two-month rally after investors turned cautious and digested a mixed batch of economic data indicating a resilient U.S. economy and labor market. European markets halted their gains over the last several weeks, and investors shifted focus from major central banks cutting interest rate to anemic economic growth in the region. The Nikkei 225 average halted a four-week rally and turned lower in the holiday-shortened week amid weakness in Asian markets on the weakness in tech stocks. China market indices declined sharply after an official manufacturing industry survey showed contraction in activities for the third month in a row in December, and sales weakness deepened for the top 100 property developers in the month. India market indices edged lower, and manufacturing and service sector surveys showed slowing but healthy growth trends in December. After the close on Friday, a statistical agency said India's economy is likely to expand at a faster than expected pace of 7.3% in the fiscal year 2024, ending in March. We now review the latest merger deals and corporate news, and several retail and transportation companies were in focus. Tesla said electric vehicle shipments in the fourth quarter increased by 20%, and for the year 2023 rose by 38% to 1.8 million. Hapag-Lloyd and Maersk said they plan to halt all shipments through the Red Sea lanes amid rising violence in the region and divert ships along the coastline of South Africa. Danone had agreed to sell its organic dairy business in the U.S. to a private equity firm. PGT Innovations, the window and door maker, received an unsolicited offer from Mitter Brands for $41.50 a share after the company accepted an offer from Masonite International for $41 a share. Blooming Brands, the owner of Outback Steakhouse, added 2 board members as agreed with activist investor Starboard Value. BYD was in focus after the company ramped up sales of its new energy vehicles in 2023 to 3 million units, including 1.6 million battery-powered electric vehicles, just shy of Tesla's sale of 1.8 million vehicles. Kelmine Foods dropped after the egg producer reported sharply lower fiscal second quarter sales after egg prices plunged from a year ago. Ford Motor Company announced a price increase for some of its electric F-150 Lightning pickup trucks. Walgreen Boots Alliance fell after the pharmacy operator reported fiscal first quarter earnings and revenues that were ahead of market expectations, but the company cut its quarterly dividend in half to bolster its balance sheet. Costco Wholesale rose after the company reported a surge in sales in December, when the calendar shift added one extra shopping day in the month. Looking ahead to the next week, economic news is expected to keep investors busy at the start of the new year. In the second week, in the U.S., investors are awaiting the release of consumer and producer price inflation data in December and international trade update. In Europe, investors are looking ahead to the release of Germany's balance of trade, final inflation update from France, inflation data in Switzerland, and Italy's retail sales and industrial activity update. In Asia, China is set to release its international trade data, India is scheduled to release its inflation figures, and the Bank of Korea will announce its interest rate decision. Australia is scheduled to release its international trade data and monthly inflation update next week. You can review daily U.S. and global financial market news, earnings releases, latest SEC filings, stock movers, and economic updates on ticker.com and 123jump.com. You can also get the latest financial books on Redera.com and keep up with financial industry events on eventsinamerica.com. That is all for today, and we will see you next week.